If there's one thing I can really say about the Star Wars fandom right now is that there's a large chunk of the fan base that is very skeptical about the future of the franchise and exactly where things are going after the Gina Carano situation. And then you have the other side that is still very much optimistic about the future of the franchise by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Disney Star Wars is that, yes, we do know that they are already working on over a dozen Star Wars projects. You know, so to speak, we have the Ahsoka Tano show, the Mandalorian seasons coming out in the near future. We've got the Kenobi series coming out next year, mind you, and that's just the beginning. Alright, that's just the tip of the iceberg. But as I said just a couple of seconds ago, there are a lot of fans out there very skeptical about whether or not the future of Star Wars looks very grim or very much more on a positive route. I'm still in line with it's going to go on the positive route, regardless of what happened to the Gina Carano situation. You know, obviously we have talked about this a couple of days ago, that the Gina Carano firing situation by Lucasfilm really led to a lot of cancellations of Disney Plus subscriptions. Now, when it comes to Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy, this is very important that a lot of fans need to know. Now, obviously, over the years, we know that Kathleen Kennedy did not handle Star Wars very well. She literally lied to George Lucas's face in that 2013 interview of promising to take care of the beloved characters in his vision of Star Wars, and, well, she did a complete 180 on that. There's no denying that. I mean, she even lied to the fans less than a year ago in that famous interview where she said, "There is no source material when it comes to Star Wars. There's no books, novels, and comics to draw from." Meanwhile, it's right there on the internet and or in the library or in the stores or on, you know, websites like Amazon.com. I mean, you name it. It's everywhere. It exists. So, past all of this, now that The Mandalorian Season 3 is in the works by Favreau and Filoni, Disney is fully focused on their new projects for the universe moving ahead. However, it's described that behind the scenes, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy had many issues with actress Gina Carano, surprisingly, before she was fired from the Mandalorian series and the entire Star Wars franchise. Alright. It's described that both Kennedy and Gina would often fall into creative differences, not a surprise, in the beginning stages of development for The Mandalorian Season 1, before Kennedy lost her creative power. Further, it's described that Kennedy originally wanted Cara Dune to be more in line with her own personal agenda, and that Carano was against that, and when that, of course, was brought up to by Jon Favreau to Bob Chapek, the Disney CEO at the time, of course, Bob Iger, eventually being Bob Chapek, alright, the Disney CEO decided to finally strip away Kathleen Kennedy's creative input ability to the Star Wars shows and future films. Kennedy, following these choices, would hold a grudge against Carano, and was best described as very angry with some of the cast and crew a part of the Mandalorian series, especially when she found out that Jon was working on Luke's return to fix what Kennedy damaged in the sequel trilogy movies. Now further, Kennedy had many problems with Carano's way of handling Cara Dune, and that when the choice was made by Lucasfilm to fire her, Kathleen Kennedy has been very satisfied with the decision, and is now afraid of the major backlash of Disney Plus cancellations of subscriptions by the Star Wars fandom, and worries about the Disney Plus platform's future. Kennedy is said to be in full panic mode with Star Wars as we speak, and is very much worried about whether or not Disney Plus can survive. So, let me just stop right here for a second. Now, we don't really have a rough estimate as of yet as to how many subscriptions were lost for Disney when it comes to Disney Plus. We don't know that yet. All we do know is that a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans, and even casual fans at that, cancel their subscription, regardless if they are into Marvel, Star Wars, whatever it may be, The Simpsons, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people out there that just canceled it because they either A, are a Star Wars fan and were very much against of what happened with Gina Carano, or they just saw this on the news and were totally against of what happened to this actress that they are not really all that aware of. So, you have a mixture of those types of cancellations on Disney Plus. I'm pretty amazed that Disney is not making an official big headliner statement just yet. Eventually we will get there, most likely by the end of February into early March. You're going to see some big headlines by Disney CEO Bob Chapek about the current situation and exactly what's happening. And I don't know if you guys know, but Hasbro, I believe, just today or yesterday dropped the Cara Dune action figure. They canceled it completely, so that's another thing. And let me just tell you, the Cara Dune Lego and Hasbro stuff, they are skyrocketing. I mean, they are just going off the charts, and that's because they know it really is going to be a very special thing to own. Now, when we look at everything related to, you know, what happened to Gina Carano, as I've stated before, a lot of people have their own viewpoints, and I respect that. A lot of people have their own opinions, and that should also be respected. You know, what Carano posted on social media can be interpreted different ways by different people. Now, obviously, the main problem among Star Wars fans is why she was fired for posting, you know, things like that on Twitter, but Pedro Pascal can post what he posted on Twitter and not get fired. It's a double standard that I never really understood myself, and I'm still mind-boggled over it as to why he's still employed over at Lucasfilm for that. The double standard is a bit much for me, and I think that when we look at everything related to that, I think it just goes to show that yes, there is some form of an agenda by, of course, some of the higher-ups over at Lucasfilm. Now, when we look at everything related to Carano, some people will indeed debate. You know, some people will indeed debate. You know, like, oh, Carano was given all of these different opportunities to stop posting what she was posting on social media, and, you know, things like that. Now, I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's the overall debate right now, is that Carano kept on getting these warnings, if you will, and kept on going through it with it anyway. Now, honestly, Pedro, he's done this more than once, and still, I feel like that it should be treated equally. He should have been let go if Gina was let go. So, apart from that, alright, Season 3 is still on. Let's not worry about that. Mandalorian Season 3 is still on, regardless of Pedro Pascal being very busy with the HBO series The Last of Us. So he's not going to be on set as much for Mando Season 3 in April, May, quite possibly even June. It's going to be very interesting to see where this is all going to lead. Now, the fact that Pedro's not going to be as involved with The Mandalorian Season 3, not a big deal. Really, it's not a big deal because, look, the Mandalorian character is mostly face covered with his helmet. You don't really see him all that much as the actor of Pedro Pascal. So, they can work their way around it. The only problem that they might fall into is dialogue. But remember, they could always do that, you know, when it comes to dubbing and having him come in the studio later and doing some dubs. The only problem with that is that, of course, it's going to create some form of setbacks when it comes to the sequences that they are planning for the Mandalorian to be unmasked, which, by the way, they are going to be doing a lot more of that in Season 3s. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Night to